Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Deep Understanding of Research Papers. Today we will review the paper Temporal Relational Reasoning in Videos, published by Boliezo, Alex Antonian, Antonio Torralba from CSAIL Lab MIT. So Antonio Torralba is one of the leading computer scientists in computer vision community, and his team worked on this temporal relation reasoning in videos paper. So the paper I will give in the description below. You can read it later. So in this video we will cover the introduction part, where we will see for what reason they built this temporal relation network, and we will see and we will understand what is temporal relation network. Then we'll see what are the experiments which are done in this paper, and we'll see what are the results. So first let's understand just overview of what is relational reasoning in videos. So if I show you let's say the first top pictures, where I have a picture, first image where these Coca-Cola cans are placed on top of each other, 3 Coca-Cola cans, and something happened in between, and suddenly we see another image where this stack is dispersed, which means that somebody did something and all the cans are on ground now. That means something has happened in between, and what is that sequence which happened when somebody, let's say, pushed this can stack? So something would have happened. But if somebody shows these two images to a human can clearly reason what has happened in between these two images in the video actually. Or in the second video, if we show the first image to a person and this last image to another person, he knows what has happened in that video segment. Somebody is folding the cloth, right? That means humans have learned to understand to learn and reason what happens in what has happened in that video. So this is a very well known problem in computer vision, and very difficult problem in computer vision. So in this paper we will understand, we will build in the paper the temporal relation network was built to do these things, to understand the relation for example, relation between the objects in the video, for example, and they finally use that for action recognition in videos. We will see all those experiments later. So this is the overview of the paper, and what is that? What are they doing in this paper? So in this paper, they have a network called temporal relation network, which takes a video and in this case gets some understanding or relationship between frames. So what I meant by that is, for example, if you have a video sequence where somebody is putting something next to an object. So this video is from something dataset. Something is the name of the dataset. So where somebody is trying to put something next to some other object. So we have a video sequence of, let's say, 12 frames, and we can see what is happening in this video, right? Then we have this reasoning network. What it does is it finds the relationship at multiple scale, right? So if you don't understand what is relational reasoning, please go and read the DeepMind paper which was published in 2016, where they did this relational reasoning for question answering dataset. There is a famous dataset called Clever. So they did this. They published this paper called relational reasoning, and they used it for visual question answering, and they got state of the art results. Even actually, in fact, that paper beats human level accuracy. So the same idea, in fact, all the equations, everything almost similar. The same idea is taken into this paper, where they find the relationship between 2 adjacent frames, or 3 adjacent frames, or 4 adjacent frames, depending on the scale. right? So if you see what is happening in this is actually multi-scale temporal relational reasoning, where if you see, they have taken frame number 1 and 9. So these two are selected randomly in the video sequence, and they feed those two images to CNN, and they get some form of representation. So the some representations could be high-level representation. We will discuss all the steps later. So this is those representation. They take it and they give it to a function h5, and h5 is a simple MLP. And in the same way, they will do this for 3-frame scale and 4-frame scale and so on. So we'll understand all the equation and stuff. So this is the overview of the temporal relational reasoning, temporal relational network. So what is happening? So if you take time scale of 2-frame, if you want to find out the relationship between 2 frames, so let's call this as T2 of V. So V is the video. So in the entire video, what we are doing is we are selecting 2 frames and finding the relationship between the two frames, and applying transformations to all the representation which you will get after reasoning, 2-frame reasoning, and you can use that to predict what is the, for what class or what action this video belongs to, something like that. So if you have T2 of V is the video, 2 represents, we are taking 2 frames at a time, and we have a function called g theta. I'll tell you what is that function, and Fi and Fj, or Fi is the representation obtained after passing that ith image to the convolutional neural network, and Fj is the representation you will get after you pass jth frame to the convolutional neural network. And you can see the one more constraint is I should be less than j. That means the sequence should be sorted. Means ith frame, if I say frame number 1, j should be more than 1, right? And g theta, as I said, so once you get this representation, let's say Fi and Fj representation, which are some form of vectors or embeddings from CNN, and you pass those two through some MLP, multi-layer perceptron, and you do the same thing for all the samples you will get, all the samples you will get from the video. Then you apply one more level of transformation using one more MLP, and what you get is that then you can use this for I would say for classification. So that is T2 of V. What you get, that's the representation for 2-frame reasoning. So if you take the same thing for 3 frames, you want to find out what is the relationship relationship you want to find out using 3 frames. Then it's the same thing. You take Fi, j, kth frame, and they should be sorted. That means I should be less than j, less than k. And again you will have some sort of transformation transform to these representations. Then you sum over all the samples you will get from that video. Then you apply one more layer of transformation, you will get T2 of V. This is exactly what's happening in this picture, where if I see I have two frame samples, 1 and 9 and 5 and 510. Then I am applying those two to the CNN, getting some representation. Then I am applying g theta, which is the MLP. Then I am applying h5, and I am summing over all different scales, 3 and 4 and so on, right? So you can see they say 2 frames relations, blue color one, and 3 is a 3-frame relation, and 4 is 4-frame relation, and you use all those representation to predict what is the class. In this case, the class is predicted to put something next to something. So like that, you will, for all the videos, you will have what should be the label, and using this architecture, you should find out what is the action happening in that video. So as I said, this is T2. If I say this is T2, this is T2, this is T3, and this is again T4. But there are different. There is T1, there is T2, T3, T4. I can even go for T4, 5, T6, and T7 by taking 6 frame. If I want T6 of V, I will take 6 frames into consideration, and I get the representation, right? So that means I can get it for whatever levels I want. So that is called multi-scale temporal relation. So I have different scales in which I am finding the relationship. I have 2-frame relationship, 3-frame relationship, and I have n frame relationship. So if you want to incorporate all those relationship into your system, you just add all those relationship, that's all. So what you are trying to do is you are trying to find a multi-scale temporal relations by adding the relationship at different scale. When I say at different number of frames you are choosing at every scale. So again, as I said, T2, if you see, you are taking 2 frames into consideration and finding the relationship vector, and again T3 finds a relationship vector by using 3 different frames, Fi, Fg and Fk, and you want to sum all those relationship to get multi-scale relationship, which is what you will use for classification. Now this is the whole idea of having this temporal relationship reasoning in videos. So how are we doing training and stuff, you can ask, right? So this is what I explained is just a vague idea. Now I'll explain what is the whole pipeline of this paper. So what is happening is, let's say you are given a video which will have some frames, let's say some 100 frames for example. What you can do is you can randomly select capital N frames. We don't know what N is, it depends on the video, it depends on when you implement what N you should choose. So let's say we sample N video, then using those N videos we will have to compute T2, T3, T4, so on up to Tn if you want to get multi-scale representation or multi-scale relationship. So let's say I am at TD, D can be 2, 3, 4, 5 till N. So I want to compute TD. So for TD I am taking D frames, right? And what I should do, if I randomly select D frames, I have to sort them first. For example, if you have N frames and if you want to find out number of permutation and combination of the entire N sequence over D, it is huge, right? So that's not very good for computation. So what they did is they randomly selected capital K number of samples. Each sample will have 9 D frames. So if I say, let's say for example, if D is 3, so I select 100 sample where one sample will have 3 frames, and that 3 frames has to be sorted. That means they have to be in higher order sequence. For example, if I take first frame, second frame and third frame, so I should be 1, J should be 2 and K should be 3. So that's what we are saying here. For computing TD we take K subsamples of pairs which will have D frames. That means I will have, let's say, 30 samples. Each sample will consist of D number of frames. D can be 2 to capital N. Then we compute D frame relationship using for every pair. Then what we do is after we compute all that, you will just sum to get the final multi-scale representation. So that is the whole idea. So you must have understood what is happening in the video. So I will just brief again. You have a video, you select some samples, then you compute you compute relational reasoning for every scale. Scale could be 2, 3 and so on, and you average all of them. So not average, you sum all of the representation relationship vectors. Then you can use that for classification. So what classification did they do in this experiment? So in this experiment they use 3 different data sets. So for first data set is called something, second is called Jester, third one is called charades. So something is released by a company, I think its name is 20B and something, and Jester is also same company, and charades is by if I am not wrong, it is from some university. So I don't completely remember which university, but it's from some university. No, it's from Allen Institute. Yeah, Allen Institute. Yeah. So something dataset is again the dataset will consist of human and interaction recognition, which means if some human is interacting with some object and you have to recognize what is he doing, right? And gesture dataset is again hand gesture recognition, where you are doing something, you are sitting in front of camera and doing some action in your hand. Charades is a video activity recognition, and you can see the statistics of this data set, where something has 174 classes and they have so many 1,08,000 videos. They are doing human object interaction. Jester is again 27 classes, 1,48,000 videos, and human hand gesture. Maybe like, for example, if I am zooming with, I'm sitting in front of the camera in the video and doing zooming in using hand. So that could be one class, and I might be saying swipe. I might be doing swiping using hand. So that is swipe left or swipe left. That's also one of the class, something like that. So and charades is again 157 class, video activity recognition, indoor activity, something. So these datasets are very big. In fact, number 1 and 2 are free only for academic research purpose. So what did they do? What is the network architecture, and how is the training part? So in this, you must have seen in the picture there was a CNN, right? So I show you again. So there is a CNN. So what is a CNN? So this is so CNN is the only thing which is a neural network here, and there is MLP also. So they used ResNet pre-trained on ImageNet data for feature extraction, right? Then ResNet is again, ResNet is trained on ImageNet, but during training they use partial batch normalization, where they did not apply batch normalization for every layer. I think if I remember, they did not apply batch normalization for the first layer, but they applied it for all other layers. So that's why it's called partial batch normalization. And they used dropout after global pooling. And you must have seen the functions g theta and h phi. So g theta, it's a function. So as I said, it's a nonlinear function, and h phi is also one function. So what are those functions? How are those implemented? And if you see, g is a function and theta is its parameter. Here h is a function and phi is its parameter. So this function g is an MLP, a multi-layer perceptron with 2 hidden layers. Each layer will have 256 hidden units. And the function h is 1 layer MLP with unit number is matching the class number. For example, if I go to something data set, the number of class is 174. So the hidden layer is 174. So so each CNN, what we do, we pass the frame through the CNN, and we get the high level representation, which we are going to extract from the top layer, somewhere in the top layer in the ResNet. So they are taking the global average pooling layer, the representation from the global average pooling layer, and they are using that for computing these relationships. So for example, whatever is coming from global average pooling layer is nothing but Fi or Fj in our case, right? So and in this experiment, they claim they have done 8 frame relationship for this experiment. So multi-scale TRN experiments. So we'll see some results. So we'll see some results on first something data set. So if you use single frame, you get so much accuracy. 2 frame TRN, temporal relation network, you get 22%. If you go to top 5, it's more. So top 1 is that. So you can compute 3 frame, 4 frame, until 7 frame you can calculate your accuracy. And if you use all these to compute the multi-scale one, which is sum of all the relationships, so you will get 2% improvement. And one more important thing is, these experiments are done on something data set. As I said, it's a challenge data set. So they submitted the result, and at that time when the paper was published, so they had 33.6%, which is kind of state of the art at that time. So and they were on the top of the leaderboard for this data set. And there were other papers also by Basnet and other people, Jan Hassan, from Ford also. And I will see some results on Jester and charades, where Jester is again hand gesture recognition data set. So they have, even with 2 frame TRN, they have 75. Since the number of classes are very less, the amount of video is more actually in that. And you can see they were able to get with multi-scale TRN, they were able to get 93.70 accuracy. And on charades, is also I mean charades, they were compared with different approaches which were there till that time. There was this AlexNet, there was two stream CNN, where they were one stream processes RGB image and another stream processes optical flow data, and they have C3D, which is three-dimensional CNN, and ITD and asymptotic temporal field algorithm. But at that time multiscale TRN was the best approach for even for charades dataset. So finally we will see some example how I mean what is some example of this video is, you are pouring something into something, which means you are pouring some water into some other glass. That's one example. And the second example could be you're pushing something, and you are dropping something into some cup and rolling something on the flat surface. So these are the example you will find if you go and explore the something data set. And Jester data is also very good, and charades is also very good data. So if you want to play with this, you can just, I mean, if you are an academic person, you want to do research, you can just write an email to these people and they will provide you the data. Then you can write your own algorithm just like this and publish your results. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please click the like button below and see you soon.